Today, I'm going to try to make a full song using only one note in 1 hour. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. So first, I just need to decide what note to use. So I think I'm going to make it in the key of G, because I think that's a more powerful bass note to use. Like if we load up a bass here, I think that's just a good, powerful bass note. So first I should just mess around by trying to make a melody. It's gonna be kind of hard to make a melody using just one note, but I think the key is gonna be to switch the octaves up a little bit. Let's pull up a synth sound. Once I pulled up that synth sound, I just spent some time trying to write a lead melody for the track, and this is what I came up with. Maybe a little fill at the end here. Yeah, that's kind of cool. That adds some cool variation in there. So that's like our basic starting melody. Now it's time to add a bass line. Let's just load up a quick bass sound here. I want to make a bass rhythm that kind of meshes back and forth with that lead melody. So here I'm just messing around with different rhythms for the bass line. All right, that sounds kind of cool. Also, I want some swing on here. I'm going to add some swing to the lead melody here. Let's make it 16th C swing, so it goes off grid a little bit. Do the same thing with the bass line. Then I just spent a little more time fine-tuning the rhythm of the bass line until I got this. Yeah, our bass bus, let's add a little side chain. I'm going to go to the new Shaper Box 3. Let's just pick one of the basic sidechain presets and tweak it a little bit. I want it to be bouncy, but not at 100%, maybe like 80. All right, now I just want to start adding layers, and then we can decide what to keep, what to take away. Then we can start to arrange the track a little bit, add some drums, a build-up, a verse. Let's just see what happens. All right, I'm gonna add in a new synth layer. Let's make this an arpeggio sound. Let's add an arpeggio. I want this to be almost like a 16th note arpeggio. So here I just started to mess around to get a good rhythm for the arpeggio sound. Then I started to switch up the octaves of some notes to make it more interesting. Alright, that sounds cool. I don't know if I'm going to use that in the drop or not, but it sounds good like that for now. Maybe we can use it in the verses. Now I do want to accent some of the bass notes here. I think rhythm is really important if this track is only going to have one note to it. So let's just figure out what notes we want to highlight. I think we can add a stab sound in here. Let me just pull up one of these stab sounds. Yeah, that's a really cool sound. That is from one of my Vital packs. Oh, it's from my Tech House pack right there. Anyway, this is a cool sound. Let's add it in every couple bars to accent a bass note. That sounds cool for now. Is this lead part really not coming through? Oh yeah, something happened to my lead fill here. Oh, maybe when I quantized it? There we go. I know we're only supposed to use one note, but maybe some quick pitch bends in the bass line would help give it a little movement, even though it's still playing a G the whole time. Let's go to pitch bend. So I just went through here and added subtle pitch bends in a couple spots to the bass. We're just gonna add a bunch of layers, and if we don't like them, we could use them for the verse, or we can take them out. We'll just figure it out later. Let's do this signature bass sound. That could sound really cool. Maybe I'll just have that note go for like 2 bars and automate that cutoff of the filter. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. This is what I deal with in New York City. Sirens going by constantly. I always have to cut it out of the videos. So every time I have that note play, I'm going to want that automation. Alright, that sounds too crowded for the drop. Maybe I'll use that in like the intro or the verse. So I'll add some like one note chords if I can, or something in the verse, and some other layers in the verse. But I'm just like sketching out the basic ideas right now. So it's going to be that, and it's going to build up with a bunch of drums and stuff and go into the drop. But maybe the first half of the drop, we don't want all the elements in there. So I'm going to move the arpeggio back. I'm gonna move this bass stab back. If we start the drop with just the bass and that lead melody, it'll probably sound cooler. And obviously I'm gonna add a bunch of drums in there too. And then I'll just copy those over to the second half of the drop. I guess we can keep adding some extra synth layers until I have to add in all the drums. I think we're gonna want some extra atmosphere, maybe a high string layer. Let's add that in. The reason I'm able to produce decently fast, I know there are definitely way faster producers out there, because I save all my favorite sounds in this list over here as channel strips. So a high string right here. It's exactly the sound I wanted. It took 2 seconds to pull out. Let's just have that go throughout the whole build-up. I'm gonna add Ozone Imager though. Then I'm gonna add a ton of reverb to it. I'm gonna have to get rid of some resonant frequencies. Violins always have some resonant frequencies in there. There's one I'm really hearing. That helped clean it up enough, but what I like to do with Atmosphere is bounce it to audio so I have more control over it. Now I can just delete that track, and we have the high string on its own. So we want something to like keep the rhythm in this verse section, not just the arpeggio there. So maybe we have like some chords. Well, not really chords because it's only one note, but some kind of chord sound, play the same rhythm that the bass is going to play in the drop. Kind of like preview the rhythm of the bass. Let's just get a chord sound. It sounds a little bit like a chord if I just play it over like 3 octaves. Then I just decided to organize the project a little more by color coding things and properly naming every track. Well, I lost a couple minutes there because all these frickin' Canon cameras stopped recording after 30 minutes and I just didn't notice that it stopped recording. So I just reset everything. Let's get back to the song. So I was about to add some automation to some of these synths. Let's automate that macro there. Let's see what kind of automation we can add to this arpeggio sound. Let's try to automate some of those things. Let's also take out some of this high end towards the end of the build-up. It's kind of harsh. I'll show you real quick how I make some atmosphere. I usually use chords, but this time I'll just use different octaves and just keep playing Gs. Let's open up Nexus here. And all we need is like a choir sound or a bell sound or something like that. Yeah, that'll work. So honestly, we could just copy over the MIDI from the arpeggio. I mean, it doesn't really matter what it sounds like now because we're just going to drown it in a ton of reverb. I'm going to go to this montage setting. If we want to make it a little dirtier, I can change the delay mode in this plugin to memory and turn that up too. Alright, so I just bounced that to audio, so now we have it in an audio track. I can just cut off the tails for now. I can use those later if I want to use them. What we're going to do is just loop that throughout the verse / build-up. And I usually never produce with any mastering plugins on at all. I'm only doing that for YouTube, just so the music is loud enough for YouTube, and I don't have to mess with it later. Yeah, so I'll mix that atmosphere in with everything else. I don't really like this one frequency that's going through. Now drums are super important. I haven't added one drum sound yet, so let's do that. So I'll just open up 3 new instrument tracks. Actually, I'll do 4 new instrument tracks. In this one, I'm gonna load up the kicks from my house pack. In this one, I'm gonna open up the claps from my house pack. From this one, I'm gonna do the hats for my house pack. And this one, the percussion. So I'll make it easy to get started. I'm just gonna put in a 4 on the floor kick pattern here. Then I can copy that MIDI down. Obviously, I don't want that rhythm for everything. For the claps, I'm gonna wanna delete the 1 and 3. And then for the hats, I'm gonna shorten them and put them on the upbeat. So those sounds don't work yet, but that's how I get a basic beat started. And now I can filter through and decide what kick to use. So I'll probably just do a time lapse now of me trying to choose the right drum sounds for this track. So I'm just gonna go through and pick the kick, clap, hat, pick out some percussion sounds, then maybe add some shakers and some other percussion too. So I like to take my time choosing out the right drum sounds for the right song, but this is what I have for the drum beat so far. Let's try to add some shakers in there too. So I'm gonna go into my house drums pack, go to shakers. Actually, I think that's a loop I made after I made the pack, so don't expect to find that last one in there. I like this loop though. I don't know if I love where those snares are sitting. Let's try to change that. Yeah, that sounds a little better, I think. All right, let's copy those over the second half of the drop. Don't want all the drums in the first half of the drop. Maybe I'll take the shaker out. Maybe I want one more percussion loop just to add a little something. I just tried out some percussion loops until I found one I liked. All right, I think that's pretty good for the drums and the drop. Now we got like 10 minutes left. Let's see what we can do with the build up here. All right, first of all, I think I'm gonna wanna fade some things in here. Let's fade in the atmosphere. Maybe I'll fade in the string too. Could have just sent these to the same bus and done it, but whatever. Maybe let's fade in these chords a little bit too. Just give everything a little bit of movement. And let's just filter in all the drums. So I'm gonna send all of the drums to bus 9. Then I'm just gonna add a little filter on them. I basically just filter them in from nothing until the end here. Alright, we need to do a quick snare build. We don't have that much time. Let's try out some different build snares here. I have a sampler with a bunch of snares I like, so I'm just putting in the pattern I want so I can test them out. And I can automate this transient designer. Let's EQ the snare a bit better. Here I'm just getting rid of some frequencies I don't like. Open up the automation for this build-up snare. Let's do some gain. Just a little change in gain. And let's automate the sustain. Might sound bad if we do it all the way up, but let's try it. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna want to filter it in too, so let's filter it in. I think the sustain's opening too much. Automate some reverb onto the drum bus. I think it sounds better with a different setting. Maybe chamber. Yeah, we'll EQ it a little bit. We're gonna add that on throughout the build-up, maybe just like 30%, and we'll slowly move the volume of those drums down too. Then we need to turn down everything in the verse. It's a little louder than the drop. Maybe a reverse bass sound. I only have 3 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Maybe a reverse bass sound at the start of the drop. So I just bounced the first bass note of the drop to audio, added some reverb, then reversed it. Then I spent the last minute just making some finishing touches. Oh, okay, damn, time is already up. So I didn't really get a chance to add like effect sweeps or any like extra drum fills or anything like that. But let's see what I was able to get done in the hour. Alright, there you have it. I tried to make a song using only one note in 1 hour, and that was the result. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.